interesting day. But I keep trying to make that therapist appointment, and the last straw was when the therapist sent me a suggestion for an appointment on the hottest day of the week, at the hottest time of the day. And I'm like, okay, I might have to do this thing outside, and I really don't want to be outside at that time of the week. I just think this isn't going to work, and I'll cancel it. I mean, it got canceled like, I think 10 minutes before the appointment Saturday night. That's kind of substandard. So there is a issue within teleservices. Now, when you get to mental health, you get to a lot of risk. So again, they're scheduling 72 hours out. But what I think you need is like a social worker on call. So what they need to do is get counselors that aren't so serious, but yet are serious. We don't need a psychiatrist, and we don't need the highest paid psychologist in the world, but we need people on things such as Teladoc or any other place that people can speak to on very short notice. You know, we don't need to, see, here's the problem. Okay, we got the suicide line. Okay, then we call the cops and then they shoot the person. Again, you know, I'm trying to structure the program that works, as always. So again, I looked, please don't be back here. Don't tell me you're back. Oh, great. I thought they were gone. They're just driving through, I hope. It was so peaceful here. There's a guy, he seems okay. He told me he did some prison time. I didn't hear everything he said, but he's walking around here for a few days. And he's got this Harley that's the loudest Harley I've ever heard. And it can be pretty peaceful here. I mean, we got the workers that get drunk every night, but you know, they generally don't raise too much cane, and it can be very nice and peaceful here. And he comes in here with the loudest Harley I've ever heard. I'm like, what is he doing here? And you know, like it's reverberating off the other buildings. So it was like, I was glad that he was gone. I didn't want to be like rude and say that, you know, I'm broadcasting, just to let you know. He drove by, I don't know, I guess he's not staying here. He just drove by. Could be an undercover cop for all we know. If all the criminals would just think like me, they wouldn't commit crimes. But where was I? So again, we need a system where people can do a video call on Teladoc or any other service where it isn't they have to make an appointment or they have to wait like maybe 10-15 minutes. Because, you know, we don't want to wait until they need to call the crisis line. So that's a big hole. I've discovered that one. Out here in Amarillo, it's cooled down. The wind is blowing. That's Pneuma wind, the healing wind. So today, I paid somebody to have $20. I paid somebody $20 to help me take the rack off the top of my vehicle. And it's a young person. That person had made mistakes in their life and was either pled guilty or was convicted of a sex crime at 14. So he was supposed to be living somewhere and was living two places or something, but the marshals came and arrested him. Because I thought you were at a marshal. Because somehow we got into a conversation about where I worked or whatever. And he said, I thought you were a marshal. I'm like, well, what makes him think I'm a marshal? So the marshals came and got me. It was like, he says, I'm not lying. I wasn't doing what they said I was doing as far as the probation violation or whatever it was. But of course the marshals have the thing, they have to go and get you. They're not the originator of the paper. They're just the effectuator. Regardless of what you tell them. The paper doesn't lie, at least to them. And then you can talk to the judge about it later. But he was a nice guy. I mean, I feel for him. I mean, I you know, we try to protect children, so we have the system, but yet, you know, you have people that should be on it, they're not on it. People that shouldn't be on it that are on it. I mean, you know, when somebody makes a mistake as a young person, you know, I don't know if that's for life for him or not, or how that works, or whether he's on it really, to tell you the truth. Just a thought. I mean, I wish we lived in a world where we didn't need to do that. And there is a world like that we could effectuate as government, as law enforcement, as community. And it starts with the heart, the mind, the spirit. It's all the same thing. This is what terms that people use to speak of the heart that the Bible speaks about. So we do need on-call counselors for Teladoc and all the other services. I think Teladoc's great. A little wacky at times. I even tried, I don't know, this other one, this doctor one. I got this, she was a chiropractor and then became a doctor, and she was trying hard to figure it out, and her camera kept freezing up and all this, and I really didn't care. I was just trying to pick her brain to see if she had any ideas. And she said, you know, you need to find somebody, a massage therapist, to do some body work to work it out. But, you know, I think this is a little more technical. If they had injected me with steroids in my back, I think it would be less technical. And I can't use a ton of that magnesium oil. I have to take breaks from it. But my leg is definitely not as jacked up. My derriere is not as jacked up as it was. My hips are calming down. So, you know, let's hope it keeps moving forward. And I have a good physiatrist. I know how to say that now. And he looks like he's interested in helping. So again, we need to make things available. I do believe in universal health care, and I believe it can be effectuated over an extended period of time and made to work so it doesn't lose money. That it actually is kind of like a post office type of deal. And of course, the post office isn't as lucrative as it once was. Again, universal health care bonds. We can sell bonds. We can have people put their money where their mouth is. When they get their tax return, they can give a portion of their tax return to universal health care. There's a lot of things we can do within universal health care to make it work. So if my back would stop cramping, I would feel a lot more confident in what's going on in my life. And I mean, it's not really, it cramps, but it's not really a cramp. It just tightens up and that's it. There's a spot on my back that will not let go. I mean, it could mean that there's a spinal issue, but it could actually mean that it's just cramped and it won't let go till you put something in it. Right. And meanwhile, it's atrophying because I can't get it to breathe. See, that's the other point. Once you get it all unlocked, you have to rebuild it. And so I haven't even got to that point. I mean, they're ready to send me to physical therapy while I was completely locked up, without even doing an MRI of those regions. Even an X-ray. They didn't even have X-rays of that region. I mean, the epidural was kind of a waste of time. It may have, did a minor thing, but you can't calm the nerve down until you take away what's causing the issue for the nerve, and that's the cramping of the back. I think what it's doing is it's tilting my pelvis. So it's causing this, the vertebrae are starting to tilt and things like that instead of sitting flat. So, I mean, that might be permanent, might be temporary, it might be the muscle that's doing that. I mean, that one muscle could be pulling on a bunch of nerves in the spine or vertebrae and then pulling, all the way down. So again, we have to start thinking and moving as a nation, or we're not going to get anywhere. So that person helped me take the thing off the top of my vehicle, the rack. My van looks better without the rack on the top, that's for sure. But I couldn't find a touchless car wash in the state. I forgot I was supposed to get the Peace Officers Memorial Fund license plate. I forgot that one. I ended up ordering the wrong plate. I got the Texas Forever plate. So again, we need to make sure that we think and move things forward. I'm thinking food stamps are getting restricted a little bit too much. I know there was a hole in the food stamp program where people were abusing it, but I think we're biting into people that need it at this point. Like my roommate, he gets $800 a month. He's trying to keep a vehicle going so he can, live somewhat of a normal life. He doesn't walk too well. He's disabled. So he's got a vehicle he's got to, kind of keep going. And they say because he doesn't, but he lives out of his vehicle, right? So because he doesn't pay $400 in rent, they take $10 of his food stamps away. So instead of whatever it was, 65, he's going to make 50. Oh no, they're taking $10 away from everyone, I think. So instead of 65, he gets 55, but he could get actually 65 again if he could pay $400 rent or more. I mean, this kind of stuff really doesn't make any sense. He's not a bad person. When I see him, I like, okay, if I would have only bought that Hummer and went to North Dakota, this never would have happened. There was a guy who was going to ship a Hummer to me. And I decided to bail out when, before COVID hit. And I decided not to do it. But if I'd have bought it, I'd probably been better off. And I went to North Dakota. And then my body would have cooled. Probably would have been less crazy. Tyler was just crazy. I mean, they were trying to kill me. And I was in a really bad place. People get sick in those places all the time. Sick and die. The guy maintenance guy got pneumonia just working in those places. They said, oh, it's the air conditioner from those places are no good. My back is kind of crunchy still. Certain spots got those trigger points. But the left side had all that stuff before too. And the left is totally relaxed until the right completely cramps up. Then it kind of tries to counter the right by cramping up. What it's doing is the right is cramping up and pulling the spine one direction. Then the left cramps up and pulls the spine the other direction. But I think the right is actually just muscle cramping. Basic muscle cramping. And I do remember I did have to have what I thought was an epidural, but I don't know what it was. And this guy probably gave me a double dose or whatever it was last time before my back released. Because I remember he said, okay, when you get home, stretch. I remember stretching my back. So I don't think it released on its own like I thought it did. And then I went to, I know he would have given me more steroid anyway because I weighed more. I only weighed 160 this time and I weighed 200 last time. I remember going to the doctor's office and I could barely walk. I mean, I don't think I hit that low spot, but I can't seem to shake this. If I could shake it, then I could know where I was and then try to rebuild. But you can't rebuild till you get the irritant away. And you know, I was looking straight at lidocaine Icy Hot, and I didn't even know of Icy Hot. So towards the end, before I leave Tyler, I'm like, I could buy Icy Hot, and I start buying that. But I said, I don't want the lidocaine one, but that's the one I wanted, because that's the only thing that broke up my right, like the inner muscle. There's an inner muscle in there that'll break that one up. But you can't use a lot of that because it like slows you down. It took me down 1% in O2. I'm like, no. So again, it's a very nice, beautiful night in Amarillo. I hope I heal of this and have a great life here for whatever time I'm here. And the thing is, I never had back problems before this, and I have back problems now. It's like, does your lower back bother you? No. And like a month and a half later, yes. Why? Because I'm walking on one hip higher than the other. Everybody says, do you know one hip's higher than the other? No, I didn't know that. And I thought about it. Of course I know that, because this one's jacked up. It's not like natural for me. So if you take the back cramp away, the tightness in the back, certain section won't let go, then my hips will be level. So hopefully this all works out and one day it's healed. Usually if it's just the sciatic nerve, you don't have problems in your quads. So all my tissues are like the same. It isn't like it's just running up the back of my leg and that's it. Right. So what happens is when it cramps, it rips the tissue. I got micro tears all up and down my leg. That's what I think it is. I'm not sure, but that also causes the tissues to contract and all the craziness. I mean, it did at one point involve that, but I think the tissues are causing it, but I'm not sure. So, here we are. Again, I say these things so you all have this knowledge in your head to help other people. Especially you I Spy people that listen to people, you can actually think things towards them. What you need is to find a doctor that's called a physiatrist. It's really weird because this guy that was a doctor on Teledoc, I'm looking at Teledoc and it's gone. There's no record now that he ever saw me. But he said, maybe it's somewhere else. I'll try to see if I can find it, but I couldn't find it where I usually find it. But he said, you need to find a doctor that's willing to look at everything. I mean, he didn't say, hey, you need a physiatrist. He said, you need to find a doctor that's willing to look at everything to figure out what it is. So my sister-in-law one day sitting there, what about a physiatrist? Or we called it a physiatrist. We were calling it a physiatrist. What about a physiatrist? What about this guy? He's in U.S. News and World Report doctor guide or whatever. It was a pleasant experience. I mean, I don't know how it's going to turn out, but it was a pleasant experience. He's a good guy. He goes, lean back. Any pain? No. Lean forward, touch your toes. No, I didn't say put your palms flat on the ground. He says, you're rather flexible, aren't you? I said, yeah, I don't understand this. I mean, I maintain flexibility. The only place I messed up is I didn't go to the massage therapist like I had planned after the last time this happened. Once every 2 weeks at a minimum. But you can't because they traumatized me around it. The government people traumatized me around it. This is their game. Now that wiring has been removed because the trauma of this whole thing outweighed the trauma of what they put in there. I used to all the time just like throw my stuff in a car, throw everything else away and leave. Or put it in storage, not even worry about it for like 3-4 years. I mean, that's what I used to be. I don't know. This time I tried calculating all that stuff. That's where I went wrong. I should have just threw everything in a storage unit in Tyler and said, well, it's 150 bucks and 180 bucks, whatever it is, and that's just all it is until it isn't, you know? Because, I mean, it's still there now, and now it's worse. I did receive a message that I would be moving my stuff myself, like I wouldn't need my brother to come help me. But time will tell, because there's a lot of false readings out there. What up? How are you?
Doing well. How about you?
Great. Thank you, sir. See, I love being around Latino people. I love calling them sir. I love doing that. I love taking people that people speak down to and calling them sir. God's with me and I'm with God. I just have a messed up human life, thanks to the deep state, as they call it. Hey, it says the Lone Star State on my license plate. So they put my old address on those plates and sent them here, and I'm like, the dealer. I'm like, oh, this is great. I couldn't change the address to this address. So I got a letter I'm sending to them to change the address on these plates, but most likely my other plates will be here. I could have left actually the temp on, because theoretically, unless the government puts their hands on my plates and doesn't let them come on time, 3 to 4 weeks is the time for those plates. So those plates should be there at the Potter County office before my temporary tag would have expired, because it's good till like November 8th or something. But I put my other plates on. So I'm going to have to go to the Potter County office about a month from now, hopefully, or less, and get my new plates, my Texas Forever plates, with my personalized message on it. Actually, God's personalized message. And I don't really like it, because it actually, unless you know the Bible, you'll think I'm speaking about myself. But God said he wanted it that way. I actually started the resurgence of the concept great in 2005 or so. And the thumbs up. And then everybody else does it as a spiritual copycat. Trump was not doing thumbs up in 2005. He comes along and he steals my stuff. That's President Trump to you. So I donated about $2,000 worth of guitars and microphones to a church today. I feel much better now than I did when I went and dropped them off, but pretty rough night last night. And it's funny because I had these ribbon mics, and they're the only church I know that has a recording studio. And that's what ribbon mics are for. So I'm like, oh, they must be theirs. I think I reserved one set, my Octava Russian mics. I was going to keep my Cascade mics, but I had already told him about it, and he probably wouldn't have remembered it and wouldn't have cared, but God said give it to him. If you need another one, you'll go buy it. I said, okay. It's God's money. That's what I was trying to tell somebody today. Who was I telling that to? What did I do for somebody? It was my roommate. I said, it's not my money. I'm not doing anything for you. It's God. God, got me my retirement. I retired. He's been giving me the whole time, so when I get here, I can give some to you. That's just all it is. Not my money. So I got these LED Jesus candles in my window here. One's the Holy Spirit candle, and one's the heart, Jesus' heart candle. And then I got some other stuff in there. Spiritual artifacts. If I stay here, I'm going to buy a translator. But I have to get well. If I don't get well, I'm going to have to eventually go somewhere else and live, and probably up north. But if I get well, which, there's a good chance that I will within the next... As long as I see like a continual improvement. Like if you get my back to stop cramping, that's the first step. And then I should, from there, begin to heal tissue. And here's my friend coming. This is funny. There he is, the guy I would use the translator with. The owner's father. He was speaking English. He's from India. And I already told him, in broken language, that if I stay, I'm going to get a translator, and that way we can speak to each other. It actually connects to the internet, and you just speak into it, and then it speaks it to him, I think is how it works. And then he speaks into it and speaks it to me, as well as have it readable. But I'm going up north. I probably don't need it. And it'd be great because people this is the thing, the magic of Amarillo. I mean, serious. I needed that thing like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I could speak to all these people that I couldn't speak to. Because people want to talk to me. They're like, you don't speak? And it's like, There's people here that don't speak English. Like this one guy, he's like a old grizzled contractor. He's not really that old, but he's older and smokes a lot, drinks a lot. And he's like drinking the other day. He's like, I really don't understand what you're saying, but I like these Spanish guys. I'm going to hang out with them. They really don't speak much English. I guess the big boss speaks Spanish. But like those guys, I could like use the translator with them. So again, it's a hope that my back stops cramping, which will cause my legs to stop cramping. And I did buy something, a magnesium supplement that I'm slowly working into my regimen that might help. So the hope is that, the problem is that your nutrients can't get into a muscle as long as it stays cramped. So you have to uncramp it. So I gave all that stuff to the church, and I tried calling them back. I don't know if the guy's busy or, there's all sorts of reasons why people don't get back to you. But I forgot to give them, I have all these extra cables. I'm trying to get stuff out of my room also to make room so I can just live an easier life here, with less stuff. But again, it fits God's plans. So I actually gave him 2 nice guitars, Washburn WI, which were they, 66s, I think, but they were the relict ones. I forget what they're called. They were made in Indonesia. The mahogany was like choice mahogany, compared to like the Korea made was the big ones in the, like about a decade ago or so, a decade to a decade and a half. The big deal was that you would buy the Korea-made guitars, because they were, better than whatever made, but weren't U.S. made. But these ones made in Indonesia, it is some, because I had the other ones too, that is some heavy mahogany. And it's real nice sounding. But it was just sitting in there, and I'm like, I'm getting rid of these. And my roomie used to work for a guitar company, manufacturer, I think, in Nashville. So he was like, oh, you sure you don't want to make money off of that? I said, I can't. It's God, I said, and I told him today, I said, I tried selling that stuff, and I tried selling stuff where it's a pain. I'd rather give it away. I said to him, like, I've done this before. where I just give people stuff. I said, in fact, if I had sold all my stuff and just hit the road and lived on the road and just never worried about it, I'd probably be healthy right now. Because I wouldn't have had such a cluttered mind to worry about my stuff. Like, what am I going to do? It's in storage. I was so close of giving stuff away. And the only reason I moved this stuff is because of the Ark. I didn't want to lose the Ark. You don't want the iPad? You got the iPad still. Okay. It's a bigger screen, that's all. Talking to my roommate there, I gave him my iPad to use. And I gave him a spare battery for his phone, so he never runs out of a battery during the day. You just got to remember to charge the battery at night. So this is just miscellaneous ramblings. Might mean something to you, might have deeper meaning, might not. But the magic of Amarillo is unblocking things that I've needed all these years. And it's kind of discouraging to a certain, I wouldn't say discouraging, frustrating not to be well here. Because I can see the life picking up and the life opening up. There's no way that they can stop my life here. They just can't do it. They're just not going to be able to do it. Doesn't matter. So again, they traumatized me around certain things and then would trigger that trauma. So again, psychological torture and psychological warfare techniques. But now, because I'm traumatized from the physical injury, that they can't do it anymore. It broke me out of their quote-unquote spell. Well, praise God in all that you do. Praise God.